Adair Macedo is no run-of-the-mill pastor. His name comes up in boardrooms and whispers in sermons as the man who has amassed a fortune believed to be approximately $1.5 billion. Macedo is at the helm of nothing less than one of the largest religious movements in the world, having steered an empire rivaling some of the richest entrepreneurs in the world. It begs the question, how can a man of God gather such amazing wealth? It's a tale of faith, media savvy, and calculated business moves that leveraged Macedo into the ranks of billionaires. The trip of Adair Macedo started on the streets of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil in 1977, and it is there that he founded the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God. At its core, it was supposed to be a church that would bring faith, hope, and salvation to the needy. What distinguished him from his fellow pastors of the time was a big vision to turn this church not only into a spiritual haven, but also into one of global force that will cross borders. Under Macedo's leadership, with his charisma in preaching and mastery over the use of media, it grew rapidly. No more than a few years had passed, and the UCKG expanded out of Brazil into other Latin American countries, and then onto the rest of the world. Today, the UCKG is present in over 100 countries with over 10,000 churches under its umbrella. Its global congregation runs into millions, placing the organization among the largest Pentecostal movements in the world. But Macedo's ambitions had never ended at spiritual leadership. He regarded the Universal Church as a proper means of securing riches through generosity of the latter's followers. And donations, tithes, and offerings have become the financial engine behind rapid expansion. Whereas many pastors were concerned merely with the spiritual cause, Macedo did not neglect the business side of the church, ensuring that the network he was managing would definitely bring in substantial revenues. If starting one of the world's largest churches wasn't sufficient, Adair Macedo made a move into the late 1980s that took him into another bracket of influence and wealth. He bought Record TV, Brazil's third biggest television network. If the truth were to be said, this sounded like an unlikely move for a pastor, but as far as Macedo was concerned, he knew it was a master move. With Record TV, Macedo was able for the first time to reach millions of homes, first in Brazil and then worldwide. Owning a network propelled him into big business. Record TV rapidly became one of the most lucrative networks in Brazil, producing popular soap operas, news, and entertainment that attracted enormous advertising revenue. The fact that Macedo was able to play both pastor and media mogul was enabling him to use his influence in ways nobody had done before. It was allowing him to preach his religions to an audience larger than ever, while on the other hand, Record TV started amassing a huge fortune for itself, adding millions upon millions to Macedo's treasury. It was this move that marked the juncture at which Macedo turned from a successful pastor into a media tycoon, head of an empire spanning both the spiritual and secular worlds. Adair Macedo's message has always been based on the prosperity gospel. The prosperity gospel is defined as a belief that through faith, one's financial contribution to the church, or even the use of positive thinking, God will grant wealth, health, and success. This doctrine indeed has driven the UCKG to financial success, since its encouragement of millions of its followers to give liberally to the church doctrine inspired them with an increasing belief that their donations translate directly into divine rewards for themselves. The gospel of prosperity became pretty attractive to followers from developing nations, where the economy is pretty tough. Many followed Macedo's teachings to be sure of a way out. Give the little that you have to the church, and God will thereafter open his favors to financial breakthroughs. Donations, tithes, and offerings that came through UCKG were reinvested into the church's expansion, newfound properties, and new business ideals by Macedo. But whereas the prosperity gospel has undoubtedly played an important role in the wealth of UCKG, it has also brought on criticism. Critics say that it preys on the vulnerable and desperate, promising wealth in return for tithing. The prosperity gospel, however, has been one of the defining characteristics of the Macedo ministry and one of the mainstays of his financial success. With Adair Macedo's fortune mounting, so too did the controversies surrounding him and the Universal Church of the Kingdom of God. Many have questioned the ethical implications of a pastor amassing such vast wealth in such extreme juxtaposition with the often impoverished state of his followers. Macedo's critics say a man of God should not amass a multi-billion fortune by preaching about those in financial need. Macedo has also been embroiled in many legal disputes during the years. In 1992, he was arrested on fraud and embezzlement charges in Brazil. Though released due to lack of evidence, the incident gave a sneak peek into the scrutiny which follows every deal that Macedo has ever made. Other than fraud, many laundering-related investigations and misappropriation of church funds have also popped up. But in spite of such legal scandals, Macedo continued to thrive. His followers remained very loyal to him and generally viewed those legal battles as attempts to undermine his ministry. Many of Macedo's followers viewed his wealth as a blessing from God, a reward for his faith and commitment to spreading the gospel. How he managed to keep his empire intact despite such scandals is a testimony to his resiliency and strength of following. Although much of Adir Macedo's fortune still comes from ownership of Record TV and donations to the UCKG, his financial empire extends far beyond the church and media. During the intervening years, Macedo has diversified his interests in such a way that they are spread out across a range of sectors, including real estate, education, and even banking. The UCKG owns schools and universities, publishing houses, and even a bank. These diversified income streams have resulted in increased wealth for Macedo. It's a well-greased machine whereby each sector feeds into the overall wealth of the church. Perhaps the most famous symbol of the UCKG's financial heft is the Temple of Solomon, located in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This enormous complex, completed in 2014, is constructed as a representation of the Temple of Solomon from the Bible and costs well over $300 million to build. Much more than a simple place of worship is involved. People from every part of the planet come to see this temple. Its sheer size and opulence stands as testaments to the financial might of the UCKG and its founder. The rise of Adir Macedo to become the richest pastor in the world left him a polarizing figure. Admired by some and deemed an inspiration, one man who merged faith with entrepreneurship and created an empire that crossed borders. He has helped many find spiritual guidance, set up one of the most successful churches in the world, and left a legacy that will last for generations. For many others, Macedo represents the commercialization of religion. The opposition cites the enormous wealth he owns as being in sharp contrast to lessons of humility and service common among religious leadership. A prosperity gospel has caused much furor, and there are skeptics debating whether it is considered ethical to promise financial blessings to donors of their church. Love him or hate him, one thing is for sure: Adir Macedo has definitely made his presence felt in the worlds of religion and business. So what do you think? Moral or immoral? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.